Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson along with Andrew Bone. Breaking news is Alabama has just landed another commitment. This time it's Kobe Prentice. Bone, break it on down.
Absolutely. Commitment number 13 in the books for the University of Alabama as Kobe Prentice announces his commitment today to Alabama. As many people know, committed to Maryland last month. And then once he got that offer from Alabama, we kind of expected him to reopen things or flip to the Crimson Tide. And last week announced or I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, he decommitted from Maryland. We kind of expected him to commit right away to Alabama, but he waited a little bit, decided to wait until today to announce that commitment, and he's going to be making his trip back to Tuscaloosa this weekend for the cookout. But great in-state pickup for the Crimson Tide. This is why camps are so important. You get a chance to really get these kids on campus, evaluate them, test them, get their height and weights. And you look at them right now. I mean, 5.5 3-star recruit. This is a guy who's going to shoot up in the rankings. I wouldn't worry too much about his ranking right now. Just go watch his tape. Know that Alabama, had him on campus, evaluated so many top receivers throughout the entire summer, and he came away as one of Alabama's premier wide receiver targets. And if anybody knows how to evaluate wide receivers and develop them, it's the University of Alabama. So get excited about this commitment because this is a big one. He's 5'11", 178 pounds, ran a 4.38 in the 40 at Alabama's football camp this summer. And like I said, really became one of the Tide's top wide receiver targets, top overall targets, and now he is officially on board with the Crimson Tide. This is a guy who had over 700 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns during his junior season. I think he had just a little over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Plays a little bit on both sides of the ball, but this is a guy who's strictly a wide receiver at the next level.
Here with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com to talk about Kobe Prentice jumping on board with the Crimson Tide. Definitely hit the thumbs up and hit that super thanks button at the bottom of the screen. Bone, in terms of his recruitment, I'm sure Holman Wiggins definitely involved, being that he's a wide receiver. Talk about his recruitment process and the coaches that he worked with.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama, knew about this guy for a while, but the biggest thing, get him on campus. He's an in-state kid. Probably going to wait a while before making a decision. Of course, they weren't really expecting him to commit to Maryland right away. Once he didn't realize that he had an offer from Alabama, but went ahead and committed. But Alabama led the recruiting, Freddie Roach led the recruiting charge with Kobe Prentice, really developed a very strong relationship, strong bond with him. Throughout the process, Holman Wiggins, Alabama's wide receiver coach, also had a great connection. And just from talking to different people who were at the camp when Kobe was there working out, said that this is a very special kid, an elite athlete, somebody who has home run speed, and definitely somebody that they're really excited about. They feel like can be a big game changer in their offense, and somebody that is extremely explosive. Has got incredible speed, quickness, great route running ability, and like I said, they evaluated him in person. Got a chance to work out with him a couple different times, and they really liked what they saw and believes he can be a home run threat here in the future down in Tuscaloosa.
Bone, Alabama has Amari Niblock, your bigger wide receiver on the outside. You got Kobe Prentice, kind of that speed guy. You got a tight end, Elijah Brown. Who are some other targets at the receiving position that Alabama fans should keep tabs on as we close the month of July and enter the month of August?
Yeah, I think with Amari Niblock, he's certainly a guy that could play on either side of the football. 6'4", 230 pounds. Could stretch out at wide receiver. Could be a tight end. Could also potentially be an outside linebacker. You just never know how much bigger he's going to get. Between now and the next couple of years down in Tuscaloosa. So we'll be watching Amari pretty closely to see how he develops. But with Kobe Prentice on board, they're still going after some other elite wide receivers in this year's class. Barry and Brown out of Nashville is probably the one we're watching the closest right now in terms of potentially making a decision here pretty soon. We expect him to commit to a school in the next month or so, probably before the start of his senior season. So we're watching Barry and Brown very closely. Took an official visit to Alabama back in early June. And he also took a visit out to TCU and really likes the Horned Frogs a lot as well. But I still think that Alabama has a tremendous shot at landing Barry and Brown in this class. Evan Stewart, one of Alabama's top wide receiver targets from day one, took an unofficial visit to Alabama in late June. So he's going to wait a little while. He's going to wait until later in the fall so he can take in some games, take in some official visits before making that decision. So Evan Stewart remains a top priority for Alabama. You look into the state of Louisiana. There's a lot of receivers down there that Alabama had on campus last month that they're heavily recruiting. Kendrick Law. You have Aaron Anderson, who's committed to LSU, and also Shaz Preston. These are three Louisiana wide receivers that are all in the mix for Alabama. I'd be kind of surprised if one of those guys is not in Alabama's recruiting class in the end. I think Alabama's probably going to sign, probably 4 wide receivers in this year's group, but I don't think it's going to be just 3. We talked about maybe it just being 3 early on in the process, but with the guys that they have, they're going after, that they're heavily in the mix for, and they can potentially land, I think it's going to be up to 4.
Bone, as we kind of look at this recruiting class overall, and I'll put it on the screen right now. What's kind of your take of the recruiting class? I mean, you got Sean Murphy and you got Kobe Prentice now on board, Robert Woodyard. I mean, you look at this class of, as a whole, I mean, it's a very strong class. What's your overall take on this class thus far?
It's starting to take shape. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. I mean, as soon as the summer got here, kids were able to visit campus. Kids were able to work out, get evaluated. Obviously, we see some kids on the commitment list that, heading into the summer, we did not expect on the commitment list, because there were some guys who picked up offers. Amari Niblack, Kobe Prentice. These are guys who got evaluated and earned their offer from Alabama after they worked out. Of course, there were some other guys on there that we just weren't expecting, like Le'Veon Moss, Tyler Booker. These are guys that Alabama was on the outside for heading into the summer. Sean Murphy, some big commitments for Alabama. So this is a great start to the recruiting class. I think Alabama is going to continue to do really well. I mean, there's some more guys that are closing in on decisions, and obviously some guys that are going to wait a little while. We've talked about this before. We've said, the biggest thing that we saw this summer was a lot of guys came in for official visits, but this was also their first visit. It may have been their first visit to Alabama, their first visit to Florida, their first visit to Georgia. They want to still take in some games this fall. They want to go to experience that environment, be on the sidelines before kickoff, meet with the coaching staff, have Nick Saban coming to your home, do an in-home visit. None of these things have happened yet. And I think a lot of people just assumed you take official visits, you make decisions. No, it doesn't necessarily work like that. A lot of kids want to go to games. They want to get heavily recruited. They want to enjoy this whole process, because they haven't been able to do that throughout the entire year. So this is an opportunity for them to do that. Yes, we're seeing commitments happen. Yes, I think Alabama could get up to 18. Yeah, they're at 13 right now. I think they're probably going to get up to, I would say, 16. Maybe 17 commitments before the fall, but the rest of those guys probably going to wait it out, wait until the season, or wait until they take some games in this fall before making that decision.
All right, here with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com. Hey, fam, definitely hit the super thanks button at the bottom of the video. Another way to show us that you care about our work, and we really appreciate anything that you can contribute right here on BamaInsider.com. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We'll be back with another video. Bone, great work. Kobe Prentice in. Definitely go read about him right now on BamaInsider.com.